If you guys would like to buy coins, you can go to mmoxp.com. There will be a link in the description down below. They are the cheapest and the safest option. You can use my code JFC at checkout for an 8% discount. Okay, you guys know what time it is. It's a comments video. Hoping to do these like once a week or so. That's kind of my plan. And whatever the title of the video is, I have a timestamp in the top comment if you want to just go and skip to that part of the video. But yeah, sit back, relax, put my dumbass on in the background, and I guess let's just get started here. We've got Jacob Jones at number 1. Going to be another week of no SBCs completed. GGEA, I don't want to spam packs when I have 89 plus storage and nothing to filter into. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest things right now is that there's a conundrum of people have hella fodder and EA are not giving out many great SBCs. There's some good ones in there, but nothing great, obviously. And I think that part of that maybe is because there's so much fodder that people have. Maybe they're delaying it on purpose to like make you crack at some point. You get rid of some of the stuff to do some icon picks or do some of this or do some of that, or there's just no strategy at all. I don't know. Usually they do have some strategy, but I couldn't tell you what exactly is happening right now. I really couldn't even guess as to what is happening here. We got G Slang who says, if these devs are so, I'm assuming he's saying so inept as to fix the spam tackle problem, they should at least delete the anticipate playstyle. Icon picks suck because they don't. Okay, so there's different things here. So you're saying the first one is if devs are inept to fix the spam tackle, then delete the anticipate playstyle. Okay. When you think about it, I do kind of, there are certain playstyles that are very crutchy. And by that, I mean, if you like are a familiar fan of other video games out there, there's perks and there's things like that that end up being kind of crutch perks or crutch playstyles, you could say, where you kind of need them. And there's certain ones that, yeah, are kind of meant to be crutchy, I guess. But for example, when you want to play fluid gameplay and consistent gameplay, the first touch playstyle is one that people don't really think about very much, but that plays a factor into consistency when you're playing the game certain ways. If you play the game fast or even slow, but if you're a faster player and you don't have first touch playstyle on a random guy here or there, there's going to be some more inconsistency in those touches, in those responsiveness areas that you think you might blame on gameplay a bit in terms of like the servers or whatever you want to blame it on, or the ping or whatever. But sometimes it's literally baked within the card itself, and that there's just things like that in the game that are crutchy. And I think that that is a thing that anticipate also is kind of like that. That literally, like the goal of defending, win the ball back. What helps you win the ball back more on anything with tackling is that play style. And if you don't have it, it's like there can be some real bullshit going on in the game. But second one, icon picks suck because I don't keep them current. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Luckily, they just changed that now. We're a couple days later, so, you know, they just changed that, so that's nice. Young Sosa says, I got so used to having exchanges last year. Not having them this year low-key killed the game for me this year because the menu grind has been so dead boring during TOTS. And I brought this up in my video today, actually, where it's like, it is kind of funny seeing how popular exchanges were last year. And they kind of went and said, like, yeah, what if we didn't do that? Because duplicate storage is fantastic, right? It is great. Undoubtedly, I think I am willing to say that in terms of accruing fodder and building SBCs up, it's better, right? I think it's literally better than that, better than exchanges. But in terms of fun, there's definitely one that's more fun. So that's kind of where it comes in, of the balance of fun versus more efficient or whatever. It's always nice to have some fun and stuff. And exchanges were fun last year, undoubtedly. And I think that this is where I'm a little easier on EA in this aspect, this specific aspect, because I do think it's literally better to have duplicate storage, but I don't think it's as fun. But we are all playing this game to try and have fun at the end of the day. We got Rajon Stewie, the WSL cards look bad. He's saying that Chelsea players, he was hoping they were better because they're 2 games away from an invincible season. I didn't even know that. Shout out Guro Wrighton, though. She's been in my team all year. Just getting an SBC here coming up. Carnivore 86, mine 89 cards still don't feat in Evo, and now 91 EA let me evolve my players. God damn it. With the sweaty emoji there. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think I have an 89 card or two as well in terms of Evos that really didn't fit into almost any evolutions, and now we're up to 91s. But hey, your 89 cards can still fit into those 91 rated Evos, so I'm not, you know, I won't complain too much, but yeah, you're not even really complaining here. EA opening the requirements like that really is only kind of, it only can be a good thing unless they limit the stat limits or whatever. The requirements are kind of shit. But them still jumping to 91 from 90 pretty quickly is still interesting. I mean, I'm happy, but it's still like, like makes you wonder if that was more of an on-the-fly choice than like pre-planned from a long time ago. We've got Buttered Up Toast Rag, who says, IDK if anyone else is having this problem, but I feel like DDA and Luck have been really bad these last few months compared to older games, and DCs just keep getting more prominent. Now, of course, when I try and be as objective as I can be with this kind of question, or this kind of comment, I should say, obviously there's no legitimate proof that DDA is even in the game in the first place. Now, there's undoubtedly something going on, okay? Either, yes, it could just be straight up like terrible gameplay, bad servers, fucked up netcode in the internet in the servers, or literal code in the game where there's delay inside of the literal gameplay code, right? There's something going on here, and I'm willing to, I'm willing to the idea of DDA 100%. So yeah, of course, it could be that, but also what could be happening is just people get unlucky with shit, right? In this game, especially, we talked about with tackles earlier, there's a lot of opportunity in this game to have some bullshit happen to you, and it's undoubtedly bullshit. It's undoubtedly bullshit. Whether it's DDA or not, it's undoubtedly bullshit that happens to you. Whether it's intentional bullshit or not is where the debate comes in. But either way, no matter what, you can still be getting unlucky, right? So there's always that balance to try and figure out what exactly the cause is. It's almost impossible to figure it out because we don't have access to the back end. We don't have access to the inner workings of this game. Like, figuring that out is going to be basically impossible. You might as well just have the leap of faith to either say it's in the game or not, but you might just be getting unlucky with stuff, and that can happen, right? That just unfortunately can happen with FIFA. Scratch Bandicoot says, I'm still using 95 depth, and then this guy replies and just says, rat. I think, yeah, we're a few days into this now. I think people are noticing that it hasn't changed too much. I think that it's maybe slightly less press in general, but at least from my experience in my few games, I haven't played Weekend League yet. That will probably help me judge what changed, or if anything changed at all. But it seems like so far my few games I've played that there's been maybe some less press, but in terms of the midfield, just, pure congestion in that midfield. Give that midfield some fucking Mucinex, okay? That thing is plugged to the nth degree, okay? But it does seem like it didn't change too much. We've got Kang, who says, is it me or did TOTS pack weight drop drastically since yesterday as compared to Friday or Sunday? Yeah, that's the thing is with pack weight, there was somebody replied to him and said it's not just you. The problem with pack weight and figuring out when pack weight changes and when it doesn't change is that you'd have to look at people's experiences, and we were talking about, you'd have to look at a million people's packs, right? You'd have to literally go through and be like, oh yeah, we all had worse pack weight, and there's literally a million of us. So that's why it's always hard. But at the same time, if you've been playing FIFA for long enough, there's times where pack weight is better and worse, right? That's not just bullshit. It is better and worse during certain times. So the specifics between that can be hard, but we know it is better or worse in certain times, and it might have been worse during those times there. It's sometimes pretty easy to figure it out when you're manipulating stuff. But yeah, just thinking about things where it's like, yeah, we need proof for this or proof for that. A lot of the stuff here in FIFA, we just realistically are not going to have that proof as much as we try. So at the end of the day, I am more sympathetic towards people who say, yeah, I'm getting shit DDA or the pack weight EA changed it, this or that, because we do know this stuff sort of exists in some ways. DDA, not literally specifically DDA, exists. We know it. They have the patent for it. So in one hand, it exists, but is it implemented into the game or not? We don't know that. But you kind of have to take the leap of faith. So I'm not even one to sit here and say there's no proof of it, therefore not in the game. It's just, we obviously can't definitively say it, but you do have to take sort of a leap of faith at the end of the day, because we aren't gonna know what is in the game really and what's not unless we have a whistleblower come forward, which isn't gonna happen. And then King once again as well here. Also, why is it this year meta players hardly fit any decent evos as compared to last year's? What's your take on that? I don't know if that's fully true. I feel like there are more. It depends on, like, I guess what you mean, because we've had, for example, the 90 Mia Ham. We've had R9s fit in evos this year. Maybe you don't mean the top end. Maybe you just mean like the middle end in general, which could be the case. I feel like this year we've had insane evolutions actually. So I'm not fully on board with that, but once again, it's one of those things where you might have had some cards that you have been wanting to fit in evolutions for so long and they haven't fit, which totally could be the case for you. But I think in general this year we've had crazy evos and more meta cards have fit inside of evos than I would say last year's, because last year's, remember, there was a time where the first like 5 months of the game, there was one evolution every 5 days. Like, it was really not as popular. So it's easy to forget that that was the case. At the end of last year, we started to, get some glitched evos, not literally glitched, but some ways to manipulate the stats on cards to have more evos fit into each other. So maybe that's what you mean too, where I think the top end of evos, maybe like you're saying here, you can't get those 99 stat evos. We had a 99 shooting evo last year with finesse plus. That was really crazy. So I think you're not wrong per se, but I do think last year we sometimes forget that the first like 4, 5, even 6 months of evos were kind of shit. And it wasn't shit because it was so new at the time, but comparing it to like this year's, it wasn't very good. Next up, we got Mother, who says 95 depth nerf is a lie, and we've talked about that, right? It doesn't seem to have changed too much there. At Shutdown EA, he says Botsmo leases for 42k, he's already up to 54k, stonks incoming. Hey, glad you got to buy something from me that turned out to be a good investment, because God knows sometimes I can give you some shit advice. We've got George, who says, I'll tell you why people are not excited about most of the TOTS cards. The gameplay that is so bad, it forces people to use only the best cards to have a slightly higher chance of winning. We are not rewarded for our skill anymore and bound to use only meta cards with overpowered quote-unquote playstyles and mechanics. Once the game is enjoyable gameplay-wise, people will realize that they can use their favorite players without fear of being behind the power curve. Now, I think I agree with you on some things, and some things maybe I would say there's a couple things that's missing. The first thing, I agree with you in that the gameplay's bad, so you want to use cards obviously that have the best play styles and stuff like that. You're more incentivized to, because for example, your touches might suck ass, and why not use guys with a first touch based play style, or good dribbling, or this or that, or whatever you have trouble with in gameplay due to responsiveness. That makes sense. However, I don't necessarily think, for example, you're saying we are not rewarded for our skill anymore, therefore we only use meta cards with OP playstyles and mechanics. I think people are bound to use those mainly because of the game modes themselves and how wins are everything, right? And I don't even know how you change that per se. I'm just kind of giving my opinion on like why people only use the meta and why EA like that, right? It's because you need to win every game. I mean, if you need to win every game, you're going to give yourself the best chance to win every game. But if you want to, talk about, and you might even be rewarded for our skill in terms of rewards, which that is a totally fair thing that you might not like. But if you're trying to talk about like skill gap here, play Rush, right? Just go and play Rush and hop in there and you'll see how big the skill gap can be in FIFA. It's actually much bigger than a lot of us realize. But if you mean like rewarded for our skill in terms of maybe you think the rewards aren't good enough, then that's a different topic of discussion, right? That I understand more than like there's not a skill gap in this game. And two things can be true at once, where there is a skill gap and also complete bullshit can happen to you where the lesser skilled player can score a goal that's pure cheese and even win a game, right? Even win a full game that you're like, damn, that guy was significantly worse than me and I lost. And that can happen even with you not playing that badly. And once the game's enjoyable gameplay wise, people will realize they can use their favorite players. This is also true. I think game modes will help with that. I think game modes are bigger than the gameplay experience itself. It's more so the game modes and rewarding players for using certain teams, right? For example, use 11 Fulham players, right? For let's say 25 games, you use 11 Fulham players and you get a crazy Adama Traore card, and you have 20 different cards from different clubs that if you use 11 players and you're starting 11 from those clubs, it's a hard challenge to get. You can get some crazy cards in there and they update all the time. That's one example of a way they could incentivize more fun teams, but EA don't really want to do that because you don't have to use your best players all the time, which maybe in turn makes you want to spend FC points less to go and get R9 and Dino and Hullet and those kinds of guys. Mitchell B, why is Saka been done dirty? 93. Yeah, I mean, people were talking about that a lot in the comments that day. Kang is back once again saying, do you think they'll have a 500k TOTS Evo? They probably will at some point for sure. They've had a couple pretty good ones so far and some not so great ones. Jamie says, I think instead of roles, they should go back to the old system where if a player is out of position, his stats just take a big hit. And I think that's exactly what the future should be here. Roles to me, because it's a new feature they added this year in the game, and they're not going to go back on that next year. I don't think they're going to have it for 1 year and then change it again. I think we'll at least have it for next year, which sucks. But I think FC 27, I already have my prediction on this. FC 27, they're going to get rid of it and then bring back the old, player out of position equals they're just worse in stats. That's fine to me. That's a much better compromise than whatever the fuck roles are. I hate it. I hope honestly, it's not bad in terms of instructions. I actually think it's an okay system in terms of instructions. Just the fact that you can't play players in certain places is where the problem comes in. We've got Hakan, who says, please link that picture all tots this weekend. I don't know what picture you're talking about. I wish I could help you there. I wish I knew what you were talking about. I might be an absolute moron, but I have no clue. Joel Santos says, Super Daddy J. This has to be the worst TOTS start ever, which just solidifies this year as the worst content-wise. I do believe the incorporation of women in Ultimate Team is one of the main factors. We have double the fodder with infinite amounts of promos and trash players, which makes the icon picks and campaign picks horrible value. We quite literally are just playing for fodder, and when we don't have a big SBC, it is useless to play. In past years, we have a good chance at a good player in TOTS, but now with 5 times the amounts of players in packs, it feels impossible to get a good player. Plus, it doesn't help the market has been dead all year. And I think there's a couple things as well with this. One is that I don't think the women coming into Ultimate Team is the reason the pack weight is shit, because EA can control that. If EA wanted to give out more good players, they would just do that regardless. Like, the odds are unaffected by women coming in the game, or could be, right? They probably are affected, but they could be unaffected if EA wanted to make them unaffected. So that one is more so like EA can kind of hide behind the shield a little bit of like, yeah, women came in, just more cards, worse pack weight, gonna happen. It's like, no, you're literally in control of the odds. You can make that better. But what I think could be true is just the oversaturation of players, right? Maybe there's a lot of player SBCs out every single day and upgrades and all this kind of stuff, that the oversaturation of stuff could be a reason why it feels worse content-wise. Not because we haven't had a lot of stuff, because there's always a lot of stuff to do and stuff that's going on in the game, but not good stuff. And that's why I don't think it's the worst year content-wise maybe ever. I just think that maybe it's the most standard year of content-wise ever. It's the most like maybe innovative year, and I feel bad saying that because we have had some great evos, and the evolutions this year are better than ever. And like, for example, the Tiki Taka plus 94 rated evo, finesse plus 95 evo, like that's some huge shit right there. But it does feel still like it's one of the least innovative years in terms of interesting ideas. And I think that that's why it feels stale. Adrian Morris, may I say, Jay, what a smashing blouse you are wearing. Hope you're well, kid. Thanks, man. Thanks for the gas. Mother back again. Might as well do Hullet with those mid SBCs. LLL. Yeah, Hullet still appears to be like the best SBC out to do right now. Kylo says, saved all my big packs for Prem Tots. I feel the pack weight is going to be nerfed into the ground. Knowing EA, keep up the good work, bro. Well, hopefully you packed something in your Prem Tots saved packs there. We've got Snap Back to Reality, who says, for now, the 93x5 pack seems pretty good. For now, just a few L cards in there, but EA can fuck everything up like what they did with the 90x5. And Josh replies with these players that could fit inside there, but then Snap Back to Reality replies and says the 93x5 pack is an eFigs pack. So some of these guys will not be in there, like Sutalo or Diong or Gioro, even because it's women's league. But yeah, hopefully that's a good pack, right? I mean, that's one of the few things they've done this year that is different, right? The like weekly play completionist, that's something that's new this year, where you get a really good pack at the end of that if you play for all the weeks. So like I said, I always try and be as objective as I can be, and there's a chance here that there is more innovation than I'm giving it credit for, and it's more so burnout than anything else. I'm well aware that that could be the case. I play this game every single day. When you play the game every day for 200 days, like, you're probably going to feel a little bit of burnout there. But at the same time, it does feel like the spicing up of content doesn't feel to be there as much as maybe we would hope. We've got Lee Hogg, who says we need that Dino SBC. Yeah, I can get behind that one. Vihan, it's the same thing with Winter Wildcards. They're going to release big SBCs. They're just waiting a couple of weeks because a lot of people are starting new accounts for Team of the Season, and they want everyone to have a fair chance of doing these guys. That could be. I think that even if they accounted for people starting new accounts, like new players coming into the game this year, starting new accounts during Team of the Season, I don't know if they would really consider that too much into their decision making. Maybe that is a bigger part than I'm giving them credit for. I don't fully believe that that would be why. I think that they would still like dropping big SBCs even when people are making new accounts, because they would be more inclined to spend FC points. So I'm not sure if that's the full reason behind it, but then again, I don't know the reasons. So it's hard to shut down any reason that anybody has for why SBCs are this way right now when I don't even have a reason myself. We've got type 1. EA need to recognize that if players choose to go 95 depth, that's fine, but they need to be able to allow the opponents to break the high press and be open to being broken by opponent through balls, etc. High risk, high reward, not this best defense and best offense. There's no trade-offs. It needs to be like paper, scissors, rock, and not a one defensive press style being overly OP. And you're exactly right. Now, there'll always be like a depth number that will probably be the best, but you'd ideally want it to be 50, right? You'd ideally want the depth that's the best and most balanced to be 50. If you want to play 99 depth, you can, or if you want to play 1 depth, you can do that. But obviously there's trade-offs to it and stuff like that. And there hasn't been really trade-offs because of the auto offside trap with 95 depth. There hasn't really been all year, and that's what needed to be fixed to me. The auto offside trap really is what allows people to play 95 depth with no repercussions, because the line stays so perfect that that's really where there's not as much high risk, because the game does it for you. You're not manually offside trapping. You can do that, but you're not doing that. It's usually automatically offside trapping, and that is not something the player is doing, and it's basically making 95 depth insanely overpowered. And definitely a Russian here. We just talked about this actually in my daily video that just dropped. Could inconsistent gameplay be to do with the game engine? I'm not sure how long they've been using Frostbite. It's been 10 years, by the way. But if they carry code over from the previous title, maybe the reason we have major input delay is from the engine struggling to consistently handle code that's been mutated over years. That's probably the best guess as to why we have delay. Because I actually don't fully buy into it's all server based. I think there is obviously some server stuff, some ping stuff, of course, that's going to always be a factor in terms of responsiveness in gaming, but I genuinely don't think the core of the issue is online. I think actually the core of the issue is offline, because people get delay offline. Squad battles players get delay, which yeah, it's an absolute disaster. Halal Bean says, how did Saka sneak in? It was pretty controversial that Saka did sneak in. Some said it was terrible that he was only 93. Some said, how the hell is he in team of the season? Next up, we got Patty on a Bun, who says Leia Williamson not even getting a highlights card is criminal. Played a great season. Thank God I've been evoing her. LEA. Yeah, it's kind of funny that because unfortunately women's football isn't that popular, or at least it's getting more popular now than it probably ever has been. But if you do watch women's football, it seems to be there's a lot of EA snubs there, almost like they don't actually watch it. They just implemented women in the game because it was the cool thing to do. They don't even watch it. I actually like the addition of women in the game, but I don't think EA actually maybe did their due diligence on genuinely putting the effort in. I could be wrong about that, of course. It feels like it was very much a hey, look what we did, and they actually don't really give a shit about the game itself. And your second part here is, with the oversaturation of promos in this game, I think EA should do small promos with only a few promo cards in it for some weeks, and have the big promos have the full promo squads they normally have. Down here says, no reason to have back-to-back 2-week promos all the time. Sprinkling in small promos, best of promos, large promos will help with the saturation. I mean, I agree. I'm down for anything to do that. I think that we need to have some sort of solution to the oversaturation, and unfortunately that probably means less stuff. Which, can EA handle that? I don't think they have to do less content per se to fix the oversaturation, but knowing EA, that's what they would do. And can people handle that? I'm not even sure. AFZ says over 90s equals one ninja gang. I don't know what that means. I might be a boomer. I'm definitely a boomer. I don't know what the hell that means. Machiavelli says, do they know how to fix it yet? GFC? No, EA do not. They don't know how to fix it yet. Or does saving packs for La Liga TOTS? Prem looks mid, not gonna lie. It kind of is mid so far, at least. It's kind of mid. And mid is one of the most overused words in the history of everything, but it kind of is mid. SB, it's definitely oversaturation of content. You pack a bunch of crappy cards, and the true meta cards are now impossible to pack. EA figured out the formula to keep the gambling addiction going year-round until the following year, and that is, you're spitting, because that's exactly right. They want it so that it's not like you can't pack promo cards, but also the best ones you still can't pack. So now you get that little taste where it's oh, you keep coming back for more, and you still try to pack the big stuff. You can't pack the big stuff. And then that in turn also has made the market harder to get the bigger stuff, because you have to pack how many 94 rated team of the season cards to get a team of the season Salah. Go do the math right now. You're not getting him from those cards. Next up here is Gold 111. Ola Aina should have been a TOTS. He is a team of the season. He's an SBC coming up here sometime, or an objective. Chiggy from Australia, who, yeah, he says, after 217 days, rip 89 rated JV Vardy from 10 Evos because 11 playstyles, forever 89. If you know ball, you probably know Chiggy and his JV Vardy love. And I said, I thought of you right when I saw Vardy's SBC because now he's got his Vardy card. So congratulations. Jamie says, love the content. I love you. Would enjoy a video about the best Evo options from the season pass. And that's actually not a bad idea. Maybe one day when there's not as much content, I might go through them and pick the best ones out. That's actually not a bad idea. I might do that at some point. Duran says, I think we need a playstyle plus remover Evo token in the premium season pass or something so they can fit into better Evos and get the playstyle plus that the Evo gives. Example, Ultimate Succession Yamal, remove Travella. I could put him in finesse and technical. Yeah, that might be a thing next year, maybe. I mean, right now we can't even change the card designs on cards, so I wouldn't really, you know, get your hopes up too much on like removing Evos tokens, but that might be something that will happen in the future if they decide to go still full playstyle pluses, which I think at this point that's going to stay. I think we'll always see playstyle pluses probably until I don't know, the end of time at this point. A Vikings fan, just talking about the Evo that was coming out that day. I'm also a Vikings fan, by the way. Anything Minnesota is usually what I'm a fan of. So the Wolves in the second round playing the Warriors now. We learned that last night. Will Ant continue his streak of knocking off legends in the playoffs? It could happen with Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond here in this series. Vos Gate says, with all the bugs and shit, I start to lose my interest even in Evos. Yeah, I fully agree with that. EA, I think, realized that, oh yeah, we do need to make good or better gameplay and fix up our act a bit, because over time, yeah, in the short term, maybe those mistakes, like the Messi mistake or whatever, maybe didn't do that much, but over the long term, the stuff adds up. And I think they reached that point where they're like, damn, we actually need to get our act together. And hopefully they are starting to do that now, even though the biggest bug of all, inconsistent gameplay, that's never getting fixed. I hate to say it. Lucky tries trading. I'm still waiting for any news on KDB end of an era. Yeah, no news about that yet. My guess would be that if it's not during Prem TOTS, which we would know if it would be, then it's going to be Ultimate Team of the Season's your next chance at it. And then after that, it's Fuddies. So it's going to be a ways away still. We got Jay Lincoln, another good upload fella. Thank you. Don't worry about getting old and a few gray hairs. I'm 54 in a few days with barely any hair left, so you should feel blessed. Yes, I'm real old and still play FIFA every day. Hey, you know what? Age is just a number. I'm glad you're here. And I can personally guarantee you I will be 54 years old and still playing video games a lot. I will never not be playing some video games. It just won't be happening. And thank you for the kind words, of course. Diamond plays, am I crazy, or did we have 88 Evos like last month? Yeah, we had 89 Evos. I think it was a couple months ago. We switched to 90 within the last maybe month and a half or so. It was pretty quick, though. The transition was pretty quick. David Watson, 1 minute in, and I got attacked bad. I have loads of grays in my beard and completely receded hair. If it grows back and I look like a tennis ball, damn. Hey, listen, it's going to happen to me one day. It comes for all of us. Some just quicker than others, okay? It probably happened to all of us someday. Only a few of us are blessed to have a full head of hair until like our 70s. I'm begging, please, that is me. Adrian Morris, have you ever been to a Juventus game yet? If not, will you at some point? That is my main goal. I was hoping to do it on my honeymoon, honestly. I was hoping to go to Italy for my honeymoon, but that's not going to happen. So I'm hoping at some point within the next few years, though, I will be going to a Juve game, going to Italy in general to check it out. When I go to Europe, though, that's the first place I'm going. There's no other place I'm going first apart from Turin or, you know, somewhere in the vicinity there, and going to a Juve game at some point. That's going to happen. Adam here talking about the Evo. We'll probably skim past that comment. Staz K, this game makes me insane. I'm almost hurt myself. Okay. Why the F my player's 2 times slower than my opponent? My R9 Evo can't outrun anyone, but my defense can't reach any striker or cam. I'm playing different game. Okay, first of all, don't listen. If this game's not good for your mental health, it's not for you. If you're almost hurting yourself, it's over. Okay, it's over. It's done with. Chalk it up. Game off the console. Game off the Steam. Game off the EA app. Okay, I don't know where the fuck you got the game at, but time to go. All right, take a break or retire. You decide. Okay, one of the two. But if you can, get through that problem, yes, there can literally be different gameplays, and that is the biggest flaw with this game. I will say though, the biggest pace advice I can give you is controlled and lengthy and explosive. Look at the pace and acceleration types, because that is a just gigantic factor in pace in this game. Controlled to me sucks balls. Okay, controlled is ass. Try and get off of controlled as much as you possibly can. can. Jimmy Mush, just put the pad down and go and enjoy the summer. See you in the winter, lads. You know what? Hey, if you want to enjoy the summer, then go for it, okay? Go for it. You're never going to see hate from me on that, but you know, unfortunately, some of us don't live in climates that's nice every day. You know, sometimes you got to have things to do, even when it's summer. Kenix Gaming will go past that comment here. Devourer of Skills. Hopefully that means I can finally upgrade my Future Stars icon Evo Guyu soon. And he goes into why that's one of his favorite players in the game here, but he does say down here, also, did anyone else feel like Power Shot was buffed again, since people seem to use it again, especially with long shots? I have not noticed that. Maybe I need to get back on the Power Shot wave. Maybe it's, you know, better than I've been giving it credit for, but I haven't really been using it myself or seen it used against me very much. Steven Solly, good video. Does anyone know what Lauren Douglas OnlyFans is? Okay, we're moving on past that shit. Vimreen? I'm sorry, I butchered that for sure. Pack weight is good, but SBCs are quite lacking. IDK how it was last year, but I'm just enjoying packing the team of the seasons. SBCs were better last year, but the pack weight probably about the same. Maybe it's even a little bit better, but it's probably about the same as it was last year. We've got Akio next. I've been optimistic that EA might actually add cards based on real life performance, and they have for some, but the fact they're adding players like Palmer as a TOTS card is just stupid. Down here, another example is Holland getting a higher overall than Chris Wood just because he's Holland. And he says, you know, I'm just hoping that one day they're more accurate with a team of the season rather than just picking the players that are more popular. And then in the parentheses, please add in tomorrow's video. I totally agree with most of this. I think that, yeah, there's gonna be some debatable players that are on the cusp that because they're Cole Palmer will make it in, and that's honestly understandable to a certain extent. But where my problem more comes in is what you said with Chris Wood and Erling Haaland, where Chris Wood, you know, it's just such an unlikely great season where Forest are borderline Champions League. He was a huge reason for that. And if you'd have said it 12 months ago, Chris Wood, well, I guess what did he catch form? It might have been around 12 months ago, like end of last season. Say maybe 16 or 18 months ago, that Nottingham Forest would be borderline top 5 fighting for Champions League. And a good reason as to why that is because Chris Wood's been great. You would say, quit smoking the good shit. Actually, hand me some of that good shit. You wouldn't be saying that. So the fact that that actually happens and then his TOTS card is just meh, that sucks. Okay, that sucks. That's why I was hoping to see a 96 Chris Wood. Why the hell not? Just why not? I don't know. We've got Archie the Staffy. If they started with Ultimate Team of the Season, it would have been great. I see Blue Flare now, and I know it's fodder. During Team of the Year, if you see Blue, you just hit the jackpot. TOTS could have been the same for at least the first week. Prem and La Liga TOTS defo hype, though. I'm a little expected. 32 packs with min 85 rated or higher. Surely I hit something. Hopefully you did now that Prem TOTS is fully out. But yeah, I don't mind the difference in TOTS and Team of the Year. I don't mind the fact that, you know, seeing the Blue Flare. I want to see the Blue Flare a lot because I'm fine with TOTS being some fodder cards, right? I'm totally fine with that. As long as there are ways where we can get those top-end TOTS cards in, for example, Champs Rewards, even though Champs Rewards now are not probably as good as they used to be. But hopefully you did pack something in your saved packs there. We've got Orlandinho, who says they should just do it like career mode, when if the player is out of position, he just gets minus stats to their card. So he means like when you play a card that's a striker at right back, he gets minus stats, which is exactly what they should do. That's the good compromise there. We've talked about that before already, I think in this video already. Next up is Rob Futt. This game has been stringing us along more than ever. Now TOTS comes, and lo and behold, EA seem incapable of producing a decent high-end SPC when they know we all will have fodder. They want us to dive into buying packs, but I think most of us have found out how fruitless FIFA point packs have become. There's literally nothing to grind but terrible packs and daily XP. And yeah, I mean, I don't get the high-end SPC stuff. I really just don't understand that one. I don't know what the problem is for that. Monty Matata, no hype for this TOTS. Everything just feels like a fucking chore. And yeah, if it feels like a chore to you, then just try your best to not let it dictate. Like, you can't try not to hop on the game every day saying like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. Just try your best to do what you want to do and no more than that, because that's how EA gets you with the FOMO, right? If you feel like it's a chore, like I have to hop on because I have to get this today, that's how they got you. But you are not alone in feeling that way at all. Sean Davis is basically just complaining about how Spotify is now on FIFA. If you guys haven't heard that, there's some countries out there where Spotify's is like implemented directly inside Ultimate Team. I think it's just in FIFA in general, but inside Ultimate Team as well. And yeah, I don't know why that is. They're taking the bag, right? They've got a Gillette sponsorship. They've got, I think it's, what is it, an AutoZone? So it is an AutoZone sponsorship, and now also a Spotify deal that Spotify is inside FIFA. So they're taking that bag. And Alfie Grove says, yes, I still use George Best in my main team too. Been waiting on this Evo since the day he came out. I love that Best card, and ironically, I actually did not put him in that Evo because I am a dumbass and I don't make any sense. We got Paul Scales. When 95 rated Shirky is discard price, the game's cooked. People have too many good cards. I have Hullet, Taram, 94 R9, 94 Suarez, for example. So unless I get something incredible like the top 1%, it's a side upgrade. That makes the game boring. Bring back gold cards lasting 3 months. And this is what we talked about before, that in one hand, it's some people think it's better that way, that you get good cards sooner, right? It's hard to complain about getting good cards sooner, but in one hand, the reward of the grind, the reward of the upgrading of teams isn't there as much. And maybe there's something to be said for finding the balance between getting upgrades for your team really quickly and also the rewarding aspect of the game that we used to play. You know, there probably is a balance in here somewhere. And Paul Scales as well says, remember when Hullet Gang meant something, LOL. Yeah, stats, inflation, you know, we've known that's been a thing for a while now. The Royal Noob, I don't mind the whole 500k Evo thing with massive boosts at all, but please, can we have one that's not an attacker? Everyone already has crazy attacks. Give us a big Evo for my midfielders. My 90 rated Joao Neves Evo is dying for an upgrade. And I was actually happy with the Become Immortal icon Evo when I saw that was a center mid. Of course, that Evo had its flaws, and we talked about that plenty on the channel, but I was happy to see that that was a center mid Evo, and hopefully we see some more of those as well. We've got Cam Poobs, who says, love the content, man. Keep it up. Thank you. Honestly, I think there's been content overload contributing to lack of TOTS excitement / market crash. Evos are more personal. Personally, if a promo has no icons, for me, it's a lot less interesting, no matter the power curve. That can be true as well. And I think Evos are probably the biggest. Well, I suppose there's the two biggest aspects are evolutions and oversaturation. Those are the two biggest ones to me in terms of why people are maybe not as excited for TOTS as they used to be. We got Khalifa, who says, stop thinking too much. Just play a few games and go about your day. Content creators nowadays, ... And people, I mean, people are going to find more passion in some things than others. I mean, there's going to be something I could find for you as well that I would say, just go about your day, bro. It's not that deep. And meanwhile, you love it. Like, people have passions for different things. People are curious about different things, believe it or not. I know it's hard to concept to grasp. Next up is Yugi here, who basically, I'll read the last part of this. I'm stuck between shitty gameplay and restrictive Evos. It's not a good place to be stuck between, I'll tell you that much. Gavin Leonard, you should be able to train players in roles and positions, like play 20 games of Messi and advance forward to get the role plus. 100%. This should be a thing. I'm sure that EA have thought about this many times. The problem is they need you to have an incentive to open packs for the next time Messi comes out and has advanced forward plus. It's all a pack ploy. It's not like they added that mechanic in the game to have it be genuinely like a better mechanic for us. They added it because it's a way to add more cards, or sorry, more variety to cards to make you more incentivized to upgrade your player, because it's just another upgrade path is all roles are basically. Man Norman says, if EA can't fix that stupid rebound ping pong crap, the game will always be shit. And we've talked about that before as well, that, yeah, they need to fix that. We got Hosway, who, once again, I apologize, I'm probably butchering that again. There's no Evo for one day and players lose their shit. And this I agree with. I do think that we need to find, you know, I make daily content on the game, and I will find myself sometimes criticizing EA for a shit day of content, when it's like, we got to be realistic here and expect that if every day is good, no day is good. So you end up with that balance you have to think about, and there's just times where I maybe go overboard on that as well. But I do think in general, like you're right, that one day of content being not so great is actually something that needs to be in the game. At I Love You Baby says, the problem is lack of content that asks for different team structures. We should have rotations, bronze, silver, leagues, World Cup tournaments, so we can build different teams for different occasions. Otherwise, it's getting way too repetitive. You're spitting, okay? It's exactly what I've been saying. Different teams needed. Holy fuck. I love myself reading through comments like this, but I know some of the watchers right now said, holy shit, don't read that whole thing. And I won't, but if you want to read through it all, then you obviously can here. But he sums it up with one last sentence. He says, ... I guess I just don't like the game anymore. ... And that's sometimes it can be summed up to that simple, right? But then I'm always fascinated to try and figure out why that is, right? And you explained there very eloquently why that was, but I've always been fascinated by psychology, so I always, I'm curious to know why people do things, like why they think that way. Muhammad says, love how they put no Villa players in, but put an Everton player for AJ3. Nice, love this company. You think they put the Everton player in to satisfy AJ3? Angry Christmas Baby took a week off, then my very first opponent back. Speed boosted his way to a 7-4 win. Annoyed, but any suggestions to combat that? So if you know someone's going to spam the speed boost, the only thing you can really do is, for one, if you want to get really like over intellectualizing it, you can change the depth if you want to. That probably isn't going to do much. What I just do myself is I take my center back and I run backwards because it's easy to read. Most of the time, they'll do it in a way that's very predictable. You just can't stop it because it's so good. So try your best to take your center back and just run backwards and then wait for it. And what helps as well is advanced defending a bruiser plus center back, where once they do that, you spam X and you bruiser win the ball back. So that's probably the best way to do it, really. Doc and Rum says, I'm over promo cards. I'd rather just play my Evo cards in a mid division and have fun playing a squad that's all my own. The only PL TOTS card I even care about is Tullis Joyce to complete my American women's team, and she'll sell for discard price, I'm sure. And yes, that's correct. And that's what you need to do right now. Find ways to have fun. That's 100% exactly what you should be doing. Callum VN, it's 9 Golan gang, 9 being the main word for full 90 stats. That makes a lot of sense. I said in this video, like, is the full 90 stats, is that 9 Golan gang? And I guess 90 stats makes a lot of sense. Doc and Rum back again. I can tell you're old because your idea of what an old guy says is get off my lawn. Kids these days don't go outside ever. They've never heard an old man yell at them to get off their lawn. That's a very good point. Back in my day, we'd be on the neighbor's lawn too long and they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing here? Nowadays, kids need screen limits on their iPads. So yeah, times have changed a bit. Cosmic Gecko says, I think fewer promos that last for longer is the option. At the minute, it's like 3 to 5 promos a season, and it's a bit too much. Slow down the power curve. Make sure Team of the Year isn't ridiculously high rated compared to the other promos. That way they can control the hype for TOTS at the end of the year. I think there's a lot of people at EA right now having this discussion for next year and figuring out what they should do, because maybe the numbers actually look really good right now because they clearly are not in desperation to make a very good SBC right now. So maybe the numbers are actually looking better than I'm giving it credit for. But if I had to guess, there's a lot of people at EA right now thinking about this issue. We know they are because of today's video. We know they're thinking about this issue and they're trying to figure out what the hell they should do for next year. And I'm very curious to know what they end up doing with that. Gravedigger, players wanted more fun, and then we got AI defense nerfed, resulting in matches ending like 9-8 a lot. Don't know why, but the game felt better before that patch. Sure, it was annoying as fuck to break through those defense, but it felt rewarding. Now it feels like, okay, I can't hold a 3-goal lead, basically is what you're saying, or I can score those 3 goals in a short amount of time if I'm down by 3. And this is going to come down to like personal preference. If you enjoy more goals, you'll like it. If you don't enjoy as much, you're not going to like it. For me personally, I enjoy it more. I think, yes, the gameplay itself, we all know, has a ton of flaws right now, and it's like kind of shocking how little they've done since that patch, but it was really bad pre-patch. Just for my personal enjoyment, pre-patch, it was bad. It was bad. So I personally enjoy it more since then. I enjoy more goals being scored because I don't personally think almost any FIFA game where scoring is difficult has ever been great. So I think that it just makes more sense to have it be a little bit easier. But that's going to come down to whatever you like. Jed VFX basically says here, like, when you tackle, there should be either slower animations the more you do it, or it takes away a ton of stamina. 100%. There's easy ways to tackle the tackle spam. There's been how many games you played over the years where a mechanic is OP because you can just repeatedly spam it, and it's easy to nerf that. They could do it. I don't know why they do it. Real Ronnie says, all I want in the next game is ranked rush. Ranked rush would be cool, I think. Obviously, the problem is you need to rely on your teammates, which we know how that can be a problem. But if you're in, say, it's like divisions, so, the higher divisions you go, you end up getting better teammates as well. So I think it could work. And I like rush more than most people do. I think rush has a lot of potential still. I still do think that. It's just right now, the problem is you play shitters. You play with shitters, and your teammates tend to to be, I don't know, complete steaming hot doo-doo, then it's not as fun. We got Gator Duck, not surprised by the lack of excitement for Prem TOTS. They always nerf the popular leagues and improve the less popular leagues. These cards will be nerfed, so I'm sure EA feel we are addicted to big names, so we open packs anyway. That I fully agree with. And then this right here, the lack of good SBC surprises me. It surprises me as well. I really have no idea why it is that way right now. We've got Giselle who says, hey Jay, Chris here, who I think you're the guy last week who said he was he's like, I'm on my wife's account. But you basically say here that you've never spent FC points on packs and you were able to do hold SBC for free, 0 coins, all SBC storage and old promo cards. And the thing is, like, does EA deserve praise for that? Does EA deserve praise that you can go through and do hull it with no FC points spent? Now, the thing is, like, yes, in one hand they do, but also if we think about just a game that releases, a piece of content in the game they release, should we praise them that we spent 70 bucks on the game, that we don't have to pay extra for a piece of content that they release? When you think about it that way, it's like, no, they do not deserve praise for that. That is the bare minimum, but it's obviously still a good thing. Like, for example, that you can do hull it SBC for 0 coins, right? Just stuff you had in your club. And thank you for the kind words, of course. Like, your guys' kind words, I mean, that it's what makes this job, like, hopefully job, just so much fun and rewarding. And talking to you guys is really, I mean, it's pretty awesome. Pierce, we read that comment, I think, in that video the next day. Mr. Craig, you and players still hacking. Yes, hacking is still 100% a problem. Next up, we got Niraj, who says your videos have become a daily routine now. Thank you very much. Other than delay, evos and roles / tactics have been the most frustrating part for me in this game. And he says down here, you know, roles are terrible. It's supposed to be my ultimate team. I should be able to play my attackers the way I want to. But then he does say down here, you know, we also have a community that will play fullbacks and center backs, and if that was the case. And this is just where I think the best compromise here is just you can play your players anywhere you want to with any tactics if they have that position. So I don't know why I said anywhere you want to. Anywhere within their alternate or main positions, you can play the players in there, but the roles don't matter. You can make it matter for tactics. The roles can be the same thing exactly as they are now, just for the tactics, but not just tied to the player themselves. So I totally agree. I think roles is a stupid idea. I think the idea isn't stupid, I guess, but the implementation in an ultimate team is dumb to me. I think it just goes against what ultimate team kind of is supposed to be. But I do get if you want to try and limit the positional players to where they generally would be in real life, then you need some sort of system like that. A system should be to me, yes, EA, I will let you decide the positions that they can play, but not literally the tactics they can play, because that sucks. And then Danny DeGroot was talking about the GTA 6 delay right when that dropped. That was before the video I talked about it in, and yes, GTA 6 has indeed been delayed. We've got This Is Mark Mack here, who says, there is an answer to your question about TOTS being underwhelming. And it's because when you regularly get something special from a business, it stops being special and it becomes an expectation. Think of free refills or second servings at a restaurant. When you know the restaurant gives you seconds, you start to expect it. It's not special, and you get mad at it if not for some reason they don't give you seconds. And you basically, in the last part of this comment here, are talking about, like, what's their next plan, really? Like, where do they go from here? I don't know where they go from here. Honestly, I don't know. That's why I'm so fascinated by the way they're taking this, is that they're going full bore, just oversaturation, right? How do they go more oversaturation? Like, do they do that? Is that possible? Or what's next? I'm so curious to know what FC26 holds, because they are obviously planned for GTA 6 to be coming out around this time as well. I don't know what is next. That's why I'm fascinated by it. Roel Hendricks, game's unplayable. How do they make it worse and worse? It's a good question. Don't know. I have no idea. Tariq Alfara, I think we read this comment on that video that day. Premier League ITK just says, I'm hoping my Suarez fits into another Evo soon. Hopefully he does for you. Unknown Entity, yes, he's been out for a while now, so we know that. Dominoes, this game is so boring. Yeah, I'm curious to know now, even when TOTS is out, because this is prior to TOTS being out, if now that, or Prem TOTS, sorry, now that Prem TOTS is out, is it just as boring for you still? I would assume it probably still is, but I'd just be curious to know what you had to say about that. And last two comments here, Enzo says, would love to know your thoughts on the 300 employee layoff from EA and canceling Titanfall 3 due to poor FC25 numbers. And now that GTA 6 is delayed, Do you think it changes any plans for FC26? We've talked about that part. Great work, by the way. Thank you. Keep being constant. Yes, I'm trying my best to keep being constant. And I think the thing is that, yeah, anytime you see layoffs from a company, people are losing their jobs, right? That's never, it's only a bad thing, really. But I don't think it's going to affect FC much. I'm assuming that the employees will stay the same. You know, they don't send the 300 employees that were working on Titanfall 3. They're not like, yeah, I want a job here working for the FC. Like, do you want to work on this game? They're just getting laid off, I'm assuming. Maybe they took some people and they're taking them to other parts and other departments, but it probably isn't going to change much if I had to guess. As much as I think actually more employees, even if they're not familiar with a lot with FC, just more employees, I think just is going to help like our experience in general. But I don't think that that's probably going to happen at all with that. And GTA 6 being delayed, we've talked about the effect that that might have. And all right, Quick Step FC, where the heck does this game go for the rest of the year with PL TOTS so cheap it's over? So that was obviously post PL TOTS being released. And I don't know where this game goes from here. I don't know where this game goes from next year. I don't know. And that's why I kind of keep talking about it a lot in the videos. I'm like, it feels like you can kind of always see the plan almost was to get to this point where there's just constant content, constant this, constant that. Now that we do have that, then what happens? Like, how do you get more than constant? I don't know what happens from here, but we'll see. FC26, we will see what that looks like. And I think it's going to be, I mean, every year we say is make or break, but I think we've already had some people that are kind of done. And over the last, like, maybe since the beginning of FC, like maybe since maybe 23-ish, you know, it's only going to get less and less as time goes on, unless they really can make a game that is better than the last few, that brings players back and makes players want to play all year and is like genuinely fun again. We saw that they can bring players back. It's possible. Can they hold them though consistently when they do bring them back? That actually is the question, and I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know if they can do that. But hey, if you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you guys so much. You guys are the best, and I will see you on the main channel tomorrow. I love you guys, everyone. Peace.